I want to take you back during the Chunin exam in Naruto, specifically at the time Orochimaru attacked Konoha and killed the third Hokage. The Hokage, for those of you who have not watched Naruto, is the ruler of Konoha, while at the same time the strongest ninja in the village. So, throughout the series we know that if something were to threaten the village, Hiruzen would protect it. And by extension, if something was to threaten Naruto's life, like the Akatsuki collecting the tail beasts, such as the one inside Naruto, the Hokage could protect him, given that the village would be at stake as it would later happen in the series. So the Hokage acted as a safety net of sorts for the main characters. Now imagine the shock when this Orochimaru guy killed the Hokage, survived their encounter and became the biggest threat not only to Konoha, but to Naruto and especially Sasuke, as he was after his body. Suddenly nobody could stop Orochimaru. The sense of danger went to the moon. We thought Kakashi was strong, a well-known titled ninja that has proven himself to be quite a beast. But when he first encounters Orochimaru, he is so terrified he thinks he's going to die. A few dozen episodes later and we meet two members of this Akatsuki organization, and wouldn't you know it, it takes Itachi 2 seconds to put Kakashi in hospital for 2 weeks. If any of the other Jonins were to experience Itachi's genjutsu, they would have turned out way worse. Now the sense of danger is at an all-time high. Orochimaru is looming in the shadows waiting to get his hands on Sasuke's body and possibly cause more damage to Konoha, and the Akatsuki had already begun collecting the tail beasts, soon to target Naruto again and for real this time. So who the fuck can protect these two? Who can defend Konoha? Well, you'd think Tsunade and Jiraiya, since they are two of the 3 legendary Sanins, Orochimaru being the third, so they should be on the same level as the snake, but they can barely defeat a crippled Orochimaru who can't use his hands. Tsunade struggles with Orochimaru's underling, Kabuto, because she's traumatized of blood. They do push back a crippled Orochimaru in the end, but he's not defeated. He can change bodies, get his arms back, get stronger, get Sasuke's body, and boy does the danger skyrockets when Sasuke walks to Orochimaru by his own accord. And what about the Akatsuki? 10 incredibly powerful individuals, as we were shown that one, Itachi was able to mock 4 of the strongest Jonins of Konoha without breaking a sweat. Naruto and the gang must become stronger to face these unavoidable threats. Nobody can protect them, it's all on their shoulders, but can they succeed? Now this is sense of danger. Compare all of these to Jujutsu Kaisen, where Gojo Satoru overpowers anyone and everything. He is never under pressure, never in danger, love deals everything. The only possible threat for Gojo is Sukuna, the king of curses, literally the main antagonist of the series. And even Sukuna is a possible threat. The only way to let the story move forward is to put Gojo away, seal him somewhere, exactly what the mangaka tries to do. Gojo destroys any sense of danger. Overpowered characters are fine, but compared to a Hokage who would not get closely involved with the main characters, wouldn't come to their rescue and wouldn't be a get out of jail card, Gojo is everywhere. As a role, he's more similar to Kakashi from Naruto, has a tight bond with his students and will always show up to protect them when need arises. But while Kakashi's strength was limited, Gojo's strength is infinite, and that destroys any sense of danger. There is this moment in Jujutsu Kaisen where Yuji dies. Yeah, you heard that right, the curse that now lives inside him takes possession and rips his heart out. Of course, we knew he would come back to life, he was so early in the series, so it was a surprise but one that did not hold much tension. Sukuna brings Yuji back to life, regenerates his heart with something called a reverse curse. Now, there are no after effects, but there are some consequences. Unknown to Yuji, Sukuna can take control of his body whenever he wants for a whole minute. But here's the thing, Sukuna is no threat. He doesn't inspire fear, he's arrogant, cunning and carefree, but he isn't scary. Yuji doesn't fear him, Gojo doesn't fear him, so who should we fear? Who's posing the danger? These guys don't threaten Gojo, they are scared of him, and so are the higher ups. Should we root for the villains then? They surely seem to be the underdogs here. Where's Kurama, the 9-tailed demon fox terrifying everyone who heard of its name, terrifying the viewers, readers, whatever way you experience Naruto? I mean, have a look at Kurama's introduction. This is frightening. This is not. Where is Toguro threatening to kill Yusuke and everyone he knows if he's not participating in his little tournament? Where's Kizaru wiping the straw heads? Where's fucking Zaraki Kenpaki sending shivers down my spine? Where is the sense of danger in this new Battle Shonen?
Okay, now try to hit me with the punch as hard as you can. Come on.
I don't believe in the idea of a new Big Three. I know when people bring up the Big Three, they're referring to potential Battle Shonen anime that could become popular and stick with us for longer than 2 seasons. So far we have My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer and the recent Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'd say represent the new generation of Battle Shonen, the modern Battle Shonen. There's also Black Clover. And while they're good in their own right, they are actually pretty good to be honest, something important is missing from them, and it might be why they don't seem to hold the spotlight for long enough to stick with us. Maybe because One Piece is still around holding the crown, but I'm sure the reason lies somewhere else. I thought it's because we're just in another era. People watch, enjoy and move on within this fast-paced environment, but Attack on Titan broke that routine, so that might not be it. The more I compare the previous shonen generation to this modern one, the clearer it becomes. And it all starts with the modern protagonists. More than 2 decades ago, we used to have these big muscly shizzle protagonists kicking ass for the love of it. That was the appeal back then. Action movies feature the likes of Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme, big muscular guy kicking ass. Same thing with fighting games like Street Fighters. It was more of a general trend shared by any media in which action was the primary focus. Then we move forward to another generation, which I would call the outcasts. Protagonists rejected by their respective societies or actively opposing them. Lina from Slayers, Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha. I know Inuyasha is not a battle shonen, but it has the same formula, so it might as well just be. And here we see the introduction of what would be called the Big Three, with Luffy, Naruto and Ichigo. And while these protagonists stand apart and have their own flavor, they can all be classified as outcasts in their respective universe. Naruto was rejected by society because of the demon he carried inside him, and thus strived for attention, strived to be accepted by the people around him. Ichigo constantly got picked on by bullies because of his orange hair, and thus always fought back, protecting himself and those who were in a similar position to him. Luffy chose to become a criminal opposing the societal beliefs. They all have distinct personalities, beliefs and traits, but share a similar position of outcasts in their respective stories. And then we have the modern protagonists, who can all be classified as special, nice guys. Deku, Yuji, Tanjiro, they're all naive, confused and emotionally weak, and the only trait they heavily share is being above average nice guys. Or to put it in nicer words, they are selfless, care-sharing individuals. Now there's nothing inherently bad about nice protagonists. No, these traits are shared among any shonen protagonist. But what happens when these traits become the characters themselves? When the protagonists are simply good boys, they turn into Mary Sues, perfect protagonists that can't do wrong and are devoid of any significant flaws, always sharing the same conflict and the same resolution. Negative or positive, there is no strong emotion attached to their characters. Deku, Yuji, Tanjiro are not flawed enough to need real improvement, and even if they could use some, their flaws are portrayed as positive and that puts them always in the right. They lack a strong personality trait that would set them aside from a secondary character. What sets them aside is them being special. Deku is portrayed as an underdog, stripped of a quirk, the power to follow his dream and become a hero. Well, that does look like a journey for Batman. Yet he's donated one of the most powerful quirks in the universe. Surely there must be some consequences involved. They are superficial, brushed aside by Horikoshi the same way he brushed aside the traitor plotline. Tanjiro is also portrayed as an underdog, a newbie forced to get strong to cure his sister to fight these threatening demons. Well, that does look like an exciting journey for our newbie, yet his ancestors allow him to have a unique special ability that propels his powers to the moon. Yuji has superhuman strength from the get-go and becomes the vessel of the most powerful curse from the get-go. Well, surely there must be a downside involved, never mind. And all of this happened extremely early in their respective stories. Now, Naruto has the Kyuubi, a monster that terrifies anyone that hears its name, but its power is destructive and dangerous not only to Naruto but to everyone else. It's not a reliable power, and not one that Naruto could afford to let loose because of the consequence it holds. If the Kyuubi takes full control of Naruto, it's game over. Nobody can stop it. Obviously towards the end of the series that changes, aliens and shit. Ichigo has his inner hollow, which... Who the fuck is Angetsu? It's complicated. And Luffy is Luffy. The special powers of Naruto and Ichigo are as advantageous as they are disadvantages. It's a terrifying inner battle of control, although it would be hypocritical of me to say that Ichigo learning Bankai in just a few days doesn't make him overpowered and special. But the catch here is that Ichigo has a hard limit. Bankai is the strongest he'll be for a very long time. The point here is that the consequences of these powers, Naruto sipping on cubic chakra, Ichigo meddling with his hollow and Luffy's gears, are heavy. Now consequences are detrimental to any battle shonen. They give weight and meaning to character decisions. They are the backbone of growth and development. Without experiencing consequences, a character can't learn, can't change, can't move forward. Luffy from One Piece would refuse to back down from a fight no matter how impossible it would seem, because he would always find a way, being through sheer determination, persistence, or because he's dumb. The world government kidnaps a member of his crew, he declares war against them. What happens after that? An admiral, the real high level guy, goes after them and wipes him and his entire crew without breaking a sweat. And Luffy breaks down. He's desperate, screaming to everyone to run, mindlessly tries to land hits on this monster that's taking his crew away. He cannot save any of them, he is weak. But that's alright because they're not dead. They're just separated. He can rest easy now. The consequences haven't fully manifested. He learned nothing. And now his brother is said to be publicly executed by the Marines, the same people he declared war against. But that's alright, he can save him. He never experienced true failure before, so he can save him. Except, he can't. And his brother dies. Now, the consequences manifest. This would have been the outcome if his crew was actually killed. Now he truly breaks down. And after a long and painful mourning period, he learns and grows. The next time his crew is outclassed, he runs. Luffy's childish confidence beat his ass and his brother died. And now he learned from his mistake. Action, consequence, resolution. A fairly simple process, yet absent from any modern battle shonen. Deku would recklessly rush into any situation, no matter how dangerous it would seem, to save someone, to show his heroism. He rushes forward without hesitation. Now that's heroic, isn't it? But there seems to be a flaw here. Given how his quirk damages his body, there should be some consequences here sooner or later. How much damage can his body take before it starts seriously affecting him? And there it is. He is examined and told that he won't be able to use his arms if he keeps using this power. Yet, he keeps using it, using his arms anyway. As you might have noticed, this scenario is similar to Luffy's. The first warning wasn't enough for neither, so what's the second warning going to be for Deku? And there isn't. He learns to use his legs as a side tactic, but still uses his arms for 100% smashes, and does so again and again and again. There aren't consequences for his recklessness. Instead, he's given some magic brace, some rewind healing, some focus power to allow him to use his powers the way he wants. Reckless actions into convenient resolutions, but no consequences to be found. And so his reckless actions are portrayed as being right. Deku is never wrong, he never follows the rules and he never faces consequences. But I know of another reckless protagonist that could contrast this scenario really well, and that's Yusuke Urameshi. Through a reckless yet heroic action, he sacrificed himself to save the life of a child. While he paid the ultimate price, he didn't seem to care much for that. He died, whatever, but he didn't account for the people he left behind. The people who would suffer, cry and anguish over his death. His mother, his childhood friend, his broski, they all failed to cope with his death. And so when offered the chance at revival, he took it with the responsibility it came with. So he can return to the people that love him, protect them and make them happy. Action, consequence, resolution. Now I want to talk a bit about death. People have this flawed idea that characters must die in order for the stakes to be high. Well, if there was a huge battle and no one from the team good died, were the stakes really high? And I think this is a flawed mentality. The modern shonen kills off characters that were introduced in the same arc or a few chapters before that. Characters that we don't have time to get attached to. I couldn't care less for any. Jujutsu Kaisen did it plenty in its most recent arc, and I just can't care for any. High stakes don't mean death. High stakes have consequences, meaningful consequences. Put a character in a life or death situation and then give me a valid, feasible justification for why he got out alive, and that's that. If the justification is shallow, so are the stakes. If a character introduced dies in the same arc, it doesn't raise the stakes but lowers them significantly. It's artificial growth. Take One Piece for example, which is infamous for its characters dying, but not really. I can only remember one single death which didn't happen in a flashback, and that's Luffy's brother Ace. But because of the impact it had on the whole series, I will never forget it. One death in 1000 and 1,000 more to come chapters. I would have liked if, say, a few other characters died, for sure, but One Piece is the prime example of high stakes do not equal death. I'm not saying modern shonen should follow One Piece example and keep them to a minimum, but killing characters left and right that we barely knew, it's only going to diminish the impact of someone significant dying if that's to happen. Cut a finger or two, I'm really not trying to badmouth the modern Battle Shonen. I'm well aware that it's a new generation, a new appeal, people prefer faster paced series with hyped animation. And who wouldn't watch Demon Slayer for its animation alone? If I wanted poorly drawn battle scenes, I would have just read the manga.